good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us right here on the Days Counter. Here's me, and as usual, I'm your host, Alan Owino. Remember, you can communicate with us on all our social media platforms. That's at TV47KE, or you could communicate with me at my personal handle at Comowino with the hashtag The Days Counter. For now, let's have a look at the top stories. Non-banking financial services provider Leeson Group unveiled a self-service e-portal that allows customers to host their preferred insurer when in need of insurance services. The portal gives customers the freedom to compare options with different insurance companies and in turn make more informed decisions on how they want to spend. The process of purchase takes about a maximum of 3 minutes on average, and the customer will have all the details he or she requires. It also serves as a stepping stone for future innovations that seeks to empower the discerning customer. All right, let's move on. The Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, has advised by both Cooperative Bank of Kenya Limited and Jamii Bora Bank Limited of COP's interest in acquiring JBB. The proposed acquisition, which is subject to regulatory approvals, will lead to acquisition of 100% shareholding of JBB by COP Bank. COP Bank was listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in 2008 with a market share of 9.63% with 159 branches in Kenya and Sudan. And as we wrap up the top stories on KAA, the Kenya Airports Authority has commissioned 4 new airport rescue and firefighting trucks acquired at a cost of 365 million. The 4 trucks are destined for use at the Moi International Airport, the Kisumu International Airport, the Eldoret International Airport, and the Lodwar Airport. The firefighting trucks are in addition to which were commissioned in March last year at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as part of the ongoing modernization of local airports and airstrips in the country. All right, at this point, let's have a look at a paper review, and we're going to be reviewing the Business Daily, which is the newspaper for today. And some of the stories that are making headlines on the Business Daily are that Talos shocks the state with the 204 billion Turkana oil bill, which states the British oil explorer Tullow Oil is locked in a vicious fight with Kenya over the London Stock Exchange listed firm's demand 204 billion as compensation for its 6-year works in Turkana oil fields. Other stories making headlines on the corporate sector is that at Unilever East Africa, women dominate executive suit. On the finance beat of it is digital lending apps seen slowing Kenya's mobile banking revolution. And on the coronavirus response, Kenya Private Sector Alliance Chief Executive Karole Karube speaks during a press briefing yesterday on the impact of coronavirus outbreak in other parts of the world on Kenya's economy. With her is capture of public-private dialogue, Victor Ogalo. And other stories down there on the newspaper is that bill shielding loan guarantors from asset auction collapses. City MCAs okay the 3.6 billion for pending bills, and the KCB also completes the National Bank owners buyout. That's all we had on the paper review, and that's the Business Daily. All right, let's now move on to the business news for today. The 4th annual Kuza Award ceremony has been launched today with a theme aimed at preserving our heritage through broadcasting. The awards will be held in June 2020. Take a look. All right, we're experiencing some technical hitches, but right after this short break that we're about to take, we'll continue with more news. Stay tuned.
tattoo hakunanga story ya hakuna room ya kujaribu. Ni sure. Hapo tu kunanga mistakes, it's sure better.
Tattoos have always been seen as a taboo, but Weche alianza hii ndoto tangu primary school akiwa tuna compass.
Mimi nakwambia daro yetu nilikuwa nimeka almost I think 30 people kwa daro yetu. Wote na compass. Fake tattoos. I think I was so into the tattoo mpaka nikiwa mtu I think.
For more on this hustle, make sure to watch Hustle Mashinani with me, your girl Magdalene Wanjiko Njani, only on TV47.
Wiki hii kwenye sauti yetu. Hospitali ya Tabitha yaipa Kibra sura mpya.
Kukosa hadi nilikuwa na uoga venye walikuwa wananiambia ati kienda kujifungua unachapa kofi hivyo. Huku wamekuwa wazuri hata sijamini.
Tumechukua wahudumu wa afya ambao wamehitimu na wako na uwezo wa kusaidia hawa mama vilivyo.
Nipata iko sawa, madaktari wametusaidia vizuri, wamekuwa na sisi hadi tukapambana tukamaliza.
Kutokana na mapenzi ya kina mama kwa watoto wao, kila mmoja ana furaha kujua ya kwamba atakapojifungua atapokea huduma nzuri na mtoto wake atalakiwa ulimwenguni vyema. Sauti yetu kila Jumamosi saa 3:30 asubuhi.
Kwa wakati mmoja alikuwa hana maono wala ndoto katika masuala ya uongozi, ila kwa sasa yupo hapo na ananawiri.
Na mimi initially nilikuwa nataka kwenda kutafuta kiti kingine kama ni ya senator ama kiti kingine. Lakini sasa kwanza tukabisa tukaketi chini tukasema tungoje.
Kareke Mbiuki anaenzi zaidi kilimo, biashara na familia. Lakini je, alianzia wapi?
Sasa wakati nilinunua basi na zinafurahi. Zinaitwa Mark 1. Mark 1 is named, they are named after my son. Yes. My first born son. Mark. So nikajita Mark 1 Express zikaanza kutoka Meru, Nairobi, Meru and back.
Ungana nami Elizabeth Mutuku Jumatano hii saa 2 hadi saa 2:30 nikiangazia maisha yake.
We'd love to apologize for that technical hitch that we experienced, but I believe the technical team has handled that and we can continue gracefully. Let's now move on with the business news. The 4th annual Kuza Award ceremony has been launched today with a theme aimed at preserving our heritage through broadcasting. The awards will be held in June 2020. Take a look.
This is the 4th edition as Communications Authority of Kenya that we're rewarding broadcasters. In the broadcasting category, rewarding this specific year, we have Copyright Awards, a new category that has just come in, patriotism. And we're so delighted as Communications Authority of Kenya to begin the cycle. Today was the launch, actually, of the awards ceremony for 2020. So very shortly, voting will be open and we'll let Kenyans know when they can begin the voting. So it's really, really an auspicious occasion for us. We invite all media stations to choose the award category that they feel would probably be best suited for them. This year we've opened up the bands of the awards. So basically what are we saying? We've created award categories that the smaller media stations will probably feel would be more ideal for them.
We find that Kenyans are actually watching a lot of local content. That is what our data tells us. So in line with that theme, we think that it is very apt because the programming and the stations that Kenyans are viewing are actually Kenyan. Content that is locally produced, storylines that are Kenyan, music that is Kenyan, comedy that is Kenyan. So we think that despite the digital revolution, local content and our heritage will still be central in terms of the kind of content that Kenyans are going to consume. And therefore, we think it's a very apt theme for the CA Zuku Awards for this year.
I'm a fan of local contacts in our local channels. Kwangu ni entertainment na news. Entertainment, kuna movies at TV47 late night.
We've been able to see today officially the launch of the Kuza Awards ceremony, which has been launched by the Communication Authority of Kenya and Kenya Audience Research Foundation, CAF, that is aimed at giving data on how audiences consume local content. And of course, the theme of this year is promoting heritage of the local programming. Reporting for TV47, my name is Lucy Riley.
Definitely a good thing to see one of our viewers enjoying the movies and the content that we put out of you at some point of our programs. Let's now continue. The World Radio Communication Conference 19 was set to fundamentally revolutionize the ICT landscape not only in the continent but also in Kenya by enhancing the adoption of artificial intelligence, big data, the Internet of Things, IoT, cloud services, and many other emerging technologies. Take a look.
Look at how our spectrum in total is actually being used, and the task force that I've set up with Engineer Obama and the NCS team as well, to ensure that we're managing our spectrum efficiently, and if necessary, if for 5G we need even to go into auctioning, look at all the different options that are available on the table to ensure that we allocate this spectrum equitably and fairly, and that it is going to be beneficial for the whole country. Please focus on the many opportunities for creating jobs for our country. I believe we have a very youthful, well-educated, healthy young population, as you've seen even with Maureen, that can be able to provide a lot of input to not only Kenya and Africa, but to the rest of the world. Many of our young people today are already working digitally.
As we look at our country taking advantage of the fourth industrial revolution, it is important that as policy makers and as regulators, we are at the forefront of ensuring that there is proper regulation, that we have the right policies in place, and that those policies have been well thought through, that they have gone through proper stakeholder consultations, so that we can benefit from our collective knowledge and our perspectives, and also so that we can then position our country to be in the best place to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution.
All right, let's switch tides a bit and move on to the international wave. Sidi Ould Amin is a former refugee from Mali who returned home and started his own tailoring business. He's making use of the valuable skills he learned in a refugee camp in Burkina Faso, where he received vocational training. The program is run by UNHCR with support from the European Union to help refugees become self-reliant.
Sidi Ould Amin fled Mali in 2012 to Burkina Faso when conflict erupted. Hundreds of thousands of people in Mali fled their homes at the time after clashes between armed rebels and government forces erupted in early 2012. Sidi decided to return home with his family in 2017 to settle in Mopti and rebuild their lives. While living in a refugee camp, Sidi took part in a training program by the UN Refugee Agency UNHCR and trained in tailoring to help him become self-reliant.
We became poor people before we were fine, but after this tragedy, the destruction, stealing, strike, we have nothing left.
Today, Sidi runs a tailoring business in Mopti and is able to provide for his family. He also trains youth from disadvantaged communities, helping them acquire tailoring skills.
This has become a school as well. It prevents youth from straying or begging. They can benefit from the little experience that I have.
French forces intervened in 2013 to drive back Al-Qaeda-linked jihadists who had seized northern Mali the previous year. But the militants have regrouped, stoking ethnic rivalries in central Mali and elsewhere to boost recruitment and destabilize the region. By February 2020, over 130,000 refugees had fled Mali. The displaced are hosted in Niger, Mauritania and Burkina Faso, countries that are also grappling with insecurity and staggering levels of displacement. Despite enduring threat, some 70,000 Malians have chosen to return over time to areas they felt was safe enough to go back to.
Definitely some inspiring story from that young man in Mali. It just proves to the meaning that you can actually achieve anything. It doesn't matter in whatever situation you're in. You can always come out at the top if you're destined to come out at the top. All right, let's move on to other stories. After Sierra Leone's biggest iron ore mine abruptly closed, the residents of Lunsa have struggled to make a living and fear their home is becoming a ghost town. Let's have a look.
Marampa is the heart of the once bustling town of Lunsa.
The mine was the source of life.
But 5 months after Sierra Leone's biggest iron ore mine abruptly closed, and residents fear Lunsa is at risk of dying. Abdoulaye Bangura is one of the 1,700 employees, or nearly 5% of Lunsa's population, who lost their jobs.
People who are living in the mining areas, all their hope is on mining. Most of them cannot even embark on agriculture. They just depend on mining. So if that mining closes, it's really difficult for the people now.
Like many others, the former electrician's salary supported his extended family. Now, he says, he's struggling to get by. Victim of an acrimonious dispute between President Julius Maada Bio and international iron miners. Bio wanted SL Mining, a subsidiary of US commodity trader Gerald Group, to pay higher royalties on sales of Marampa's ore. Late last year, he cancelled SL's license, stalling all exports of the mineral which previously generated a quarter of Sierra Leone's annual export revenues. The government has ignored international court orders to reinstate the concession. SL denies it was not paying what it owed. Amid desolate mounds of iron ore, a skeleton staff paces through Marampa. Sheikh Umar Kamara is the Director of Community Relations and Development.
Everything is going to be dead. Buildings are going to be dilapidated. People are going to move out. So the entire township of Lunsa will become, yet again, another ghost town. So as someone from Lunsa, this hurts.
That process has already begun. Only a few stalls are open at Lunsa's market, and shop owners, taxi drivers and traders say business has dried up. Some have left to look for work. Others, like pharmacy owner Eliza Kanu, are on the run.
I'm not in Amios because I'm afraid for opening the shop.
She's wanted by local police after defaulting on a $1,500 loan. Her husband has already left town, fleeing his own creditors.
I'm afraid.
As for Bangura, he's one of the lucky ones. He's got a small plot on which to scrape out a living, growing vegetables to feed his family.
So you see it now.
He's even rented out some of the land to his former co-workers as they wait for word on the fate of the mine.
We have no communication with the government. For example, for the Minister of Mines to come and explain to us why the situation between them and the government. Nothing else.
The Mines Ministry declined to comment. By becoming a farmer, Bangura has found a way to survive. But he fears there will be no future for his family if Lunsa fades away.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we had for you on the business news. At this point, we'd love to take a short break. But before that, I'd also love to remind those who are joining us, always, you can keep a conversation going on all our social media platforms. That's at TV47KE, or you might as well do this on my personal handle at Komowino. But don't forget the hashtag, the Days Counter. Let's take this short break. We'll be back with more.
kwa tattoo hakunanga story ya hakuna room ya kujaribu. Ni sure. Hapo tu kunanga mistakes, it's sure better.
Tattoos have always been seen as a taboo, but Weche alianza hii ndoto tangu primary school akiwa tuna compass.
Mimi nakwambia daro yetu nilikuwa nimeka almost I think 30 people kwa daro yetu. What na compass. Fake tattoos. I think I was so into the tattoo mpaka nikiwa mtoto I think.
For more on this hustle, make sure to watch Hustle Mashinani with me, your girl Magdalene Wanjiko Njani, only on TV 47.
Wiki hii kwenye sauti yetu. Hospitali ya Tabitha yaipa Kibra sura mpya.
Kuko sawa hadi nilikuwa na uoga venye walikuwa wananiambia ati kienda kujifungua unachapa kofi hivyo. Huku wamekuwa wazuri hata sijamini.
Tumechukua wahudumu wa afya ambao wamehitimu na wako na uwezo wa kusaidia hawa mama vilivyo.
Nipata iko sawa, madaktari wametusaidia vizuri, wamekuwa na sisi hadi tukapambana tukamaliza.
Kutokana na mapenzi ya kina mama kwa watoto wao, kila mmoja ana furaha kujua ya kwamba atakapojifungua atapokea huduma nzuri na mtoto wake atalakiwa ulimwenguni vyema. Sauti yetu kila Jumamosi saa 3:30 asubuhi.
Kwa wakati mmoja alikuwa hana maono wala ndoto katika masuala ya uongozi, ila kwa sasa yupo hapo na ananawiri.
Na mimi initially nilikuwa nataka kwenda kutafuta kitu kingine kama ni ya senator ama kitu kingine. Lakini sasa kwanza kabisa tukaketi chini tukasema tungoje.
Kareke Mbiuki anaenzi zaidi kilimo, biashara na familia. Lakini je, alianzia wapi?
Sasa wakati nilinunua basi na zinafurahi. Zinaitwa Mark 1. Mark 1 is named, they are named after my son. Yes. My firstborn son. Mark. So nikajita Mark 1 Express zikaanza kutoka Meru, Nairobi, Meru and back.
Ungana nami Elizabeth Mutuku Jumatano hii saa 2 hadi saa 2:30 nikiangazia maisha yake.
I believe my siblings are now 20 million richer.
What does it take to run a successful business?
A lot of discipline, one, and a lot of open discussions.
Don't solely rely on it.
And more so, when the business is a family business.
They must start the business they know.
And if you're not enjoying it, leave it, move on to something else.
For me, I always tell people prayer is the key thing.
Let's not lie about it. It's really hard work.
On this show, I took up the challenge of revealing the secret of running successful family empires that thrive for generations.
Join me, Vanessa Ndavi, as we explore the family business world and make sense of it all. Only on TV 47.
Thank you very much for that story. And at this point, we'd love to move to the second beat of the segment where we have a studio interview. Hello. And our guest today is Mr. Wahome Ngari, who's a financial educator and the CEO of a company known as Personal Finance Academy. Mr. Wahome.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, today we're basically just going to be touching on personal finances and debt management. And a good place to start this conversation is one of the biggest concerns for every business person or any business institution out there that wants to get into business is the ease of access. There is of access to credit, right?
Okay.
And it's always a big major issue.
Yes.
Let's go to the young people. This is always a big complaint to them.
Okay.
Ease of access to credit.
Yes.
What would you advise somebody who would literally want to go into business and they can't really access credit because it's always a concern with banks? Does he have the experience or where's the books to show that this can actually justify you getting credit? Yeah.
Okay. I think once we want to go to business, we need to basically appreciate and understand that we will actually need capital. And we will need capital in many dimensions. And one of the things we always need is money. Sometimes you don't have money, but we have to ask ourselves, what do I have? It's something we call equity.
Yeah.
Now, equity encompasses many things. Money is part of it. But as a young person, you have a few things working for you. You will have the idea, okay? And you can share that idea with somebody.
Yeah.
You will actually have the time, and you have the energy. Now, if you don't have money, with what else you have, your idea, your innovation, you have the time, you have the energy, can you be able to get somebody who will actually believe in your idea and believe in your time to actually invest into the enterprise that you want to go into? And we look at who are the easiest ones to give me the money. And we look at what we call business angels. A business angel is anybody who wants to support you, develop yourself, the idea. They can actually give you the money, but they cannot give you money for free.
Yeah.
They want to get involved with you just because they want to assist you to move on, but they don't want to risk the money with you.
Yeah.
So they'll come in, say, as a shareholder. And just think about it. If a parent's got a child who's shown initiative in a given area and they got all the paperwork ready, they got everything in place, and you actually go to the person and you say, hey, this is my whole idea.
Yes.
This is the amount of money I want you to give me, but this is what I'm bringing to the table. Because you must bring something to the table.
Definitely.
So you can look for a business angel of any definition. Like I've said, it could be a parent, could be somebody else who understands you, could be an organization. I mean, there are organizations, people around churches, the NGOs doing that. The actually government bodies, what's the youth fund all about?
Yeah.
We put together our idea, we structure it properly, and we present it, and we can get the finances. So finances should never be the reason why we're not moving.
Okay, fine. Now, I'd love for us to take the conversation in a sequential kind of manner, right?
Yes.
Now, you've gotten the capital or the credit that you wanted.
Yes.
The next thing is the investment, right? It depends on the investment that you want to make. And most young people grapple with the fact that, is this the right investment? I'd love to understand what is the right investment. Because at times, I was recently speaking to somebody and I was telling them, there's no point of having a piece of land. Yes, land appreciates with time. There's no point of having a piece of land. Why don't you sell it right now with its value and put in the money in a business that can actually bring in the returns as soon as possible?
Okay.
What is the right investment for a young person? And do you think the analogy that I've just given you, the example, is a good thing to go by?
I think it's, I will not say it's a good thing to go by or not a good thing to go by. Now, there are obviously a few considerations. If you want to get into business, you want to get into an enterprise, you want to invest, there are a few considerations that we put in. Okay, how much money do you have at hand? Because if somebody's got 100,000 and another person has got 10,000, they are likely to be facing the same scenario. Now, how much risk appetite do you have? Okay. Now, there's people who have risk appetite, that's their nature, that's their personality, and if they lost the money, they can actually be able to recoup. There are people who get frightened by risk. So you must assess yourself, and you can actually get somebody to help you assess yourself. Are you capable of taking risk? If you lost everything, would you end up in hospital? Are you capable of saying, okay, that's lost, I'll start again? So risk appetite is very key. Now, the other thing is you must look at what's the goal you want to achieve. What do you want to achieve? Because there are many things. I might want capital growth, or I might actually want revenue. And those are different things. If I want capital growth, that means I have some money, but I want it to grow. I can go into an investment which does not necessarily become liquid today or tomorrow. So I can actually put my money, say, in a unit trust. I can actually put money as a fixed deposit in a bank. Okay, but if I want revenue, if I want cash out of it, that's when I go to things like business. So those are part of the considerations. There are a few more considerations, but those are the very basic ones we have to think about.
The very basics. Yeah. Right. Now, when we're still talking of businesses and personal finances, a big and critical discussion is always revolving around savings.
Okay.
And I'd really want us to delve into this savings because this is a big part where the youth come in.
Okay.
You outside here, you've probably just finished school.
Yes.
And you've gotten a job.
Okay.
It's not such a high-end paying job, right?
Yes.
And you're probably making, say, 15,000.
Okay.
You need to pay for your expenses and your regular bills.
Okay.
And when you meet somebody like that, he tells you, or she tells you that, I'm not able to save.
Okay.
Whatever I make, I spend it. It's just hand and mouth.
Yeah.
What's your take on that situation?
Well, before we get to savings, let's look at income.
Income, yeah.
Because savings is a function of income.
Yes.
Okay. And we're looking at income twofold. We got two types of incomes. We have what we call active income, the money you actually get because you got involved.
Yeah.
You got a job and you get paid a salary.
Yeah.
You're a salesperson, you get paid commission. Okay. You're in business and you're making some business profits. But we also have something we call passive income.
Yes.
Passive income is the money made by your investments. Literally, investment is when you set your money to go and work for you. What your money makes is what we call passive income. So when we are getting into savings, where are we heading? We're heading into investments so that money can also work for me.
For you.
Okay, I think we need to have that basic understanding. Why do we do savings?
Yes.
Okay, because we don't just throw money at the corner for the sake of it. We actually want to make sure that over time, I would make money, but my money is also going to make money for me.
For you, yeah.
Now, so we start at income. And when we're looking at income, we all have different positions in income.
Yes.
There are times, especially when you start up, maybe your expenses even exceed your income.
Yeah.
And you might go, if you're a young person, you left college, what's the big tendency for a lot of people? You become an outpatient to your parents.
Yeah.
If you're hard up, you go back.
True.
That's why we call it an outpatient.
Yeah, true.
So you're not resident, but you come for hard up.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people want to accelerate the process so that they can get out of that. And how do you accelerate the process? You must focus on your income. How can I grow my income? If you find your income is more than your expenses, you got only two ways. You can actually increase your income, that's within your means, or you can reduce your expenses.
Yes.
Okay? And you don't have to reduce the quality of your life by reducing the expenses.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at young people, and they're saying, I'm not able to save, the question is, are we able to look at our expenses, and have you found another way of maybe dealing with those expenses?
Yeah.
Because you look at, if you make an income, and you have earned the money,
yes.
When the money leaves you, where does it tend to go? Okay, if you think about it, very quickly, we call them 7 cashiers of life.
Yeah.
Where the money goes.
Yes.
If you're a person of faith, you will have to invest in the kingdom of God. And that's paying your tithes, it's paying your offering, it's helping the poor, and if your parents need help, helping them and your siblings.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
Then number 2, you have to pay taxes. In life, a few things are certain. Death and taxes.
Yeah.
So you will have to pay taxes. And it is not only what we call pay as you earn. You might have to pay withholding tax, VAT, express duty, and all those.
Yeah.
Now, number 3, you need to maintain your life. It's called lifestyle maintenance. So you actually have to pay your bills.
Yeah.
House rent, transport, airtime, clothing, food.
Yeah.
And number 4, you will actually have relationships, and you will actually have to pay for your relationships. We just come from Valentine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's also part of the cashiers, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the cashier. You can't ignore it. You're part of a setup, so you will actually have to pay for that. When you become a parent, you have to pay the cost of your children.
Yeah.
You have to pay part of the cost of your spouses and all that. So it's not only boyfriend, girlfriend. You actually extend it all the way.
Into
to some people, maybe even your relations, maybe your relatives that you're supporting and all that. And number 5 is actually the community where you come from.
Community, yeah.
We always find ourselves having this harambe or this funeral or this, and you know the way they just create a WhatsApp and they put your name in there so that you can actually changa. So that's a way of life that we do it. Number 6 is what we call personal development. You must invest in developing yourself. It might mean you buying a book, you studying a course, you're doing something so that you become better.
Yeah.
And number 7 is what you call now savings and investment.
Savings
so because of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, even when you're a young person and you left college, you know you have to do almost all those things. Actually, not almost. You have to do all of them.
Right.
And so the biggest challenge all the time is to balance out. Balance out so that none takes the money of the other one. So you balance out. If you don't balance out, you find your relations are actually taking money for personal development.
Yeah, one will eat into the other.
One is eating into the other. So you're having a nice time with your friends, but basically you're finding you can't even pay for your college fee if you want to go and do some other program. And it is important to develop yourself, because by developing yourself, you will actually be able to earn more.
Yes.
Now, balancing all those is what we call budgeting.
Budgeting.
Yes, that's what it's called, budgeting. Just balancing out all those things is called budgeting.
On these 7 cashiers, you've mentioned a very interesting thing is in terms of, and the 6th one is personal development, which means, let's say you're working somewhere and you've realized you're at a junior level. So for you to elevate to the next level, you actually have to go and pay for some sort of education somewhere just to get more papers in that.
True.
But do you think, is this really an ideal situation in a Kenyan context right now that we're having people with masters and PhDs and all that without
it's something to think about. The question is, what do you need to go to the next level from where you are? It does not necessarily have to be academic, maybe professional. You're junior accountant in an organization and you want to be the accountant himself, so you have to go and study your CPA. Okay. Yes, there is competition, but you must better yourself. You might actually find what you need is not necessarily an academic qualification, but be a skill. You've been given a job, and you're front office, but your public speaking, your relationship with other people is not good. So you're having a quarrel with too many people. You might actually decide to go and sort out that. Or you just want to remain positive in a negative environment. So you want to keep yourself motivated. So it might actually, personal development mean you go to the gym. And you feel good about yourself. You go to the sauna. It doesn't mean books all the time. And there are many things. We're saying from where we are, how can I go and get better than that? How can I go to the next level?
Now, when you're still talking of, you're still touching on issues pertaining to student debts and all that. We have students right now in different universities and varsities. They're graduating and actually finding themselves in debt. There's student loan debt. That one is part of life. I mean, I still even have some of my relatives and uncles and aunties still paying for whatever they used to study. That is part of life, well and good. But what I want to understand is the government, or Kerry, the taxman, definitely has put like students have to file nil returns. That is something I've grappled with. I'm trying to understand, why does somebody need to file a return and he or she is not taking part in any business, he or she is not doing any financial transaction that deserves for taxes to be paid. Now you get that this person goes through the 4 years, he's exiting, maybe he wasn't well aware of how the returns should be made and is out here with debt after exiting. Do you think that's an ideal environment for a young person heading into a...
First, and remember we talked about that we didn't... We'll get to that. I'm sure we'll get back to that. Now, why do we pay taxes?
For the money to work for us.
No.
Why do you
pay taxes so that somebody can actually ensure there's an environment for us to work? Yes. Because you can't hire your own KDF, can you? Can you put up your own roads?
So that's basically our money
for us. We want money to work for us.
Exactly.
Now, and every adult person is using the facilities we have. Children are using it, but somebody is paying for it. Every adult person is using the facilities we have in this country. Now, the taxman wants to find out, what are these adult people doing? And that's why they want you to file nil for them to still know you are not employed, because one day when you get employed, now they'll know you have moved from point A to point B. And so, if you get registered by KRA and you want to have a PIN certificate for your many other transactions, you want to be a driver or whatever you want to be, now KRA expects you to file nil, and it's not going to cost you a lot. You can do it on your phone. So it doesn't have to cost you a lot. But it's a system of government trying to widen the tax net. Get as many people who are making an income to pay their taxes.
But the fact
that you're in debt. The fact that you're in debt does not mean you have no income. It doesn't mean you don't have income. Now, if you're a student and you've gone through college, and we went through college, where did the college money ever come from? Maybe an allowance from our parents, an allowance from our supporters. Some of us who are lucky, we got an allowance from government, whether it was HELB or whoever. So we had some money, isn't it? But that was to help us to study. Now, when we finish our study, we become tax-paying citizens.
Right?
Yes. And if you're not paying tax, government still wants to monitor where are you. What are you doing? So that the day you actually make income enough to pay taxes, then you can start your share of taxes. Because the more people pay taxes in the nation, the lower the tax burden for everybody.
So your advice to young people in different campuses is not to complain, but to actually file these returns?
You can complain, but you need to understand, complaining does not prevent KRA from charging you penalties for not filing.
So it's a good thing. According to you, it's a good thing for students to file returns.
It's a good thing. And we cannot sit here and say all students have no income. We have very creative students who actually start making money while they're in college. We have seen people who are in college, but they already set up their businesses. So what are we saying? Just because they're in college, they should not pay taxes? I think that would be wrong.
That would be wrong. Okay, fine. So as we're still staying in issues pertaining to debt, because it's something that affects both youth and generally adults across the nation. When you talk of debt, a key issue that comes in is banks, right? Banks are usually out there giving people loans and pertaining to different, with regards to different rates here and there. And you might get somebody who goes for a loan, and you've also spoken about it in your different interviews. Somebody gets a loan at 12% per annum. And maybe this is not the same as 1% per month. Exactly, right? So is there a disconnect between people really understanding this, or are the banks just taking advantage of people not where?
We have something that's, I think Ratin says, caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Buyer
It is your business to be aware, not the business of the bank to educate you to the last point. And that's why they say terms and conditions apply. It's your business to read the terms and conditions, not their business. And that's why it's a responsibility of individuals to learn.
Exactly.
Nobody to teach us. And when we're looking at debt, we must clearly understand what's debt. You actually holding other people's money or items of value. And we distinguish debts. We say there's some good debts and there's some bad debts. Now it is good debt if you, wherever you borrowed it from, you put it into adventure or enterprise where it is actually going to appreciate. Okay? Or create potential for the future. Let me explain the last one. I have found, I'm an accountant in the office. I present my reports to the board of directors, but I'm very poor in presentation. And I actually look for an evening college, and I go and borrow money somewhere, and I pay for that course so that I'm a better presenter. I have created potential for my future, because if I do a good presentation to these guys, they are likely to promote me. The promotion comes with more income. Okay? Now, that's a good debt. Now, it is a bad debt if wherever you're going to put it, there's no appreciation and there's no potential for the future. And we're looking at things when we borrow to do things for show, when we borrow for things for consumption, when we're borrowing to put it in depreciating assets, all that is bad debt. Now, before you get into debt, we critically need to understand what's the price of money, what's the cost of money. Okay? And so whether it is 1% per month, whether it is just 1% per day, it is your business to actually understand how do I convert it to what is called the annual rate, the annual percentage rate, APR, so that now you can conceptualize whether it's given per month, whether it's given per day, whether it's just a flat rate, you actually do that. And the government is very sensitive. They've done a nice thing. Central Bank actually has a calculator that's online. It's called cost of credit. You can actually search it in a day. And if you put in all the terms, it actually helps to work out for you. So you can actually be able to see if this is 1% per month, what's the eventual cost? If this is 12% per annum, what's the eventual cost? Because 1% per month is more expensive than 12% per annum. And a lot of people struggle with that mathematics. But if you understand how compound interest works, then that becomes very easy.
Okay, fine. Interesting facts here, and I hope one or two people out there are getting something from it. Now, just to wrap it up as we wrap up, there's something really interesting. If you check the statistics, children outside here are literally one of the biggest contributors to people's purchasing powers. And you find that companies want to focus their marketing strategies on enticing young children and kids outside here. So basically, it means when you have kids, you'll necessarily spend more. And if you check right now, young people are even having more kids than elderly people who are established. What's your take? Do you think young people like me should have kids at this stage?
Well, we cannot set a rule on that. Remember, you don't need a license to get kids.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no licensing authority. Yeah. I know the church will give us a certificate we are married, or the Kathy or the court we are married. So that way maybe legitimately we can have children. How many do we have? That's nobody's business. That's our business to determine. Okay. And I don't see anything wrong with people having as many kids as they would want, and they can be able to maintain. But when we have children, we need to know there are many expenses. And by the way, in financial terms, majority of people will actually remain children for a 25-year period. Why 25? Because in financial terms, you cease being a child, not when you get an ID, when you move out.
When you move out, okay.
As long as you've not moved out, practically in financial terms, you are a child. Because somebody is paying the rent for you, somebody is buying the food for you, and is taking care of expenses. So if you have a 25-year period, when you get 4, you need to know that's a cool 100 years of taking care of them, just that it runs concurrently. Okay? But children are good, isn't it? So that's the way we are. But people who have done consumer behavior, consumer psychology, understand the power of children. And by the way, 20% of all things sold world over is sold because children have a gift that's called pester power. They can push until things get done. When they're young babies, they cry. It's your business to find out why they're crying. When they get a bit bigger, they throw a tantrum. They spin, they turn. Okay? When they get older, you're teenagers, now they actually change. Now they don't spin and they turn. They bash doors, they bang tables, or they actually keep quiet. That's how they throw their tantrum.
So it's basically what you need to understand.
Yes, you need to understand. And you know what? They understand some psychology. Because the girl will actually throw the tantrum to the father.
Okay.
And the boy will throw the tantrum to the mother. Now, it's called the Oedipus complex, and it actually works. It's no single father who wants to see their daughter cry. It's my princess. And there's no mother who wants to see their son cry. By the way, this is my prince, and it works perfectly well for children. And so salespeople now know this. When you do consumer psychology, now you understand that. So you actually structure your product to see how best can you actually use children to get it sold. And it's from cars to movies to food to anything, including the TV shows that we see. I mean, when they hold the remote and they say this is the channel we watch, the chances are they win.
Okay, Mr. Wahome, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for your time. Okay, now, as you've heard, Mr. Ngari, when you're dealing with finances and debt, the things that you actually need to look in, and the 7 cashiers are faith, taxes, lifestyle, maintenance, relationship, community, personal development, savings, and investment. Take a look at those 7 cashiers and find out how you can manage your finances and not get into debt. That is all that we had for you right here on the Day's Counter. Pardon me. My name has been Alan Winner. Until next time, do have yourself a lovely evening.